Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Jamie Komoroski? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing by this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoy this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the alleged crime, and then offer my analysis, including a summary of jailhouse recordings. This case takes place in 2023 in the state of South Carolina. Jamie Lee Komoroski lived in the town of James Island, which is in Charleston County. She was originally from New Jersey and moved to South Carolina to go to school. She graduated from Coastal Carolina University in 2020. Reportedly, she struggled with substance use and mental health problems since college. Jamie worked as a server at a Mexican restaurant on Folly Beach. She did not have a criminal history, but she had plenty of contact with law enforcement due to her atrocious driving performance. She had multiple violations on her driving record, including driving 10 miles per hour over the speed limit and failing to use a turn signal. Now moving to the timeline of the alleged crime. On Friday, April 28, 2023, 25-year-old Jamie Komoroski visited several bars where she consumed beer and shots of tequila. After completing her drinking adventure, Jamie drove east on East Ashley Avenue in a rented Toyota Camry. This was in the opposite direction of her home. At the same time, a newly married couple was on East Ashley Avenue. Eric Hutchinson and Samantha Miller had been married only a few hours earlier. They left the wedding reception and were riding on the back of a golf cart driven by Eric's brother. Eric's nephew was in the passenger seat next to his brother. The golf cart was legal to operate on public roads. It was considered a low-speed vehicle. The group was headed toward a rental property which had been reserved for Eric and Samantha. Jamie was traveling at about 65 miles per hour, even though the speed limit was 25 miles per hour. At the 1200 block of East Ashley Avenue, Jamie slammed her Camry into the back of the golf cart. Witnesses said the golf cart was catapulted over 300 feet and rolled several times. Samantha was killed. She was still wearing her wedding dress when she died. The other 3 occupants were injured. Jamie was unharmed in the collision. The police were notified. They arrived at the scene at 10:16 p.m. An officer noticed that Jamie smelled like alcohol. Jamie told the officer that she had 1 beer and a drink with tequila about an hour earlier. The officer asked Jamie on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being completely sober and 10 being the most impaired, how would she rank herself? She said that she was an 8. Jamie was asked to participate in a field sobriety test, but she refused and became uncooperative. When she stood up, she was unsteady on her feet and almost fell down. Jamie was arrested and transported to the police headquarters. She refused to provide a breath sample. A warrant was obtained to draw blood from Jamie. Her blood alcohol content was 0.26, over 3 times the legal limit. Jamie was charged with reckless vehicular homicide and 3 counts of felony DUI resulting in great bodily injury or death. She allegedly demonstrated bad behavior after being arrested. In the detention center, she threatened to harm herself. After being told that she was not permitted to use the phone, Jamie became hysterical and banged her head on a nurse's desk. She was placed in a restraint chair where she continued to cry and smack her head. After returning from her bail hearing on April 29, she cried and banged on the walls of her cell. She later told officers that she did not deserve to eat or drink. At the time making this video, Jamie is still in jail and was denied bond. Now moving to my analysis. Through an open records request, the media obtained recordings of Jamie's jailhouse communications. I will analyze these recordings one by one and then offer an overall analysis at the end. On April 30, 2 days after the fatal collision, Jamie had a discussion with her parents. She said, quote, "I can't believe this is my life, and my whole life is going to be over," unquote. She continued to complain by saying, quote, "I just can't believe this happened to me. Why me? I'm going to be here for years and years and years and years," unquote. Her father advised her to suck it up and get tough, but Jamie said, "I can't. I want it to be over." Here we see that Jamie is not taking responsibility for the fatality. She was acting like her own irresponsible behavior was something that happened to her, as opposed to something that she did, almost as if she is the real victim. On May 2, Jamie had a video call with her boyfriend and a small group of friends. She initially cried and covered her face when she saw her boyfriend. Jamie expressed remorse and explained how she didn't want people to think she was a terrible person. It would appear as though Jamie is continuing to be self-centered. She's concerned about her image. She slammed her car into a golf cart while she was driving over 40 miles per hour over the speed limit, but doesn't think that warrants being viewed as a terrible person. Jamie predicted that she would be free on bail within 2 months. In the meantime, she planned on learning a new language and was listening to history and science podcasts. She proclaimed, quote, "I'm going to be a genius when I get out," unquote. This could give the state of South Carolina an idea for a plea deal. Jamie can be released when she becomes a genius. I imagine this would be a life sentence. Jamie told her boyfriend that she wanted him to be happy and would be okay if he decided to move on from her. This seems like a fair, appropriate, and reasonable offer. Jamie predicted that she would not have to serve any time in prison because the collision was an accident. She was informed by other inmates that she would have to do a bunch of stuff after getting out on bond, like things that would make her look good so she would be let off easy. Jamie said, quote, "There's been people that have, killed people on purpose before and, they've gotten out on bond," unquote. Here Jamie appears to be in denial. She actually believes that she is not going to have to serve a lengthy prison sentence. When referring to the fatal collision, Jamie said, quote, "It was just like a freak accident, obviously. I didn't mean it to happen. I just feel like a terrible person, like I didn't mean for any of it to happen," unquote. Right before the video chat ended, Jamie offered a word of warning saying, quote, "Please don't be stupid like I was because all it takes is one time," unquote. It appears as though Jamie is trying to minimize what happened. She's framing the collision as an accident that could happen to anyone. On the same day, May 2, Jamie had another video call, this time with her parents. They joked with her and advised her to stay positive. Jamie said she was leaning on prayer, hope, and faith, but then once again complained, saying, quote, "I'm just so confused, why this would happen to me," unquote. Her father explained that things just happen that way and nothing can be done about it. Jamie then talked about her hopes of escaping responsibility for her behavior. She said, quote, "I just pray and hope that the judge understands how regretful and remorseful I am, and that I'm not a bad person, and that I'll never do anything bad again," unquote. It would appear as though Jamie's father is, to some extent, the voice of reason. He's trying to explain to Jamie the nature of reality, but she's not open to hearing it. On May 4, Jamie's father told her that he hired 2 top-notch attorneys to represent her. They were a husband and wife team from New Jersey. He proclaimed that they would be, quote, "bringing the Jersey to South Carolina baby," unquote. Bringing the Jersey to anywhere should result in additional charges, like reckless propagation of New Jersey. That charge is not just a felony, it's a crime against humanity. After dropping this bombshell about unleashing the influence of New Jersey on South Carolina, Jamie's father told her that she was not to talk to anyone about the events that landed her in jail. He reminded her that she was being recorded and everything she said could be used against her. Jamie kept interrupting her father. She said, quote, "But I wanted to make sure that I could say an apology, and they said I would be able to say an apology," unquote. Her father cautioned, "Listen, stop talking about it. Don't even say that." Again, Jamie's father appears to be trying to help, but Jamie is her own worst enemy. Jamie proceeded to complain about the conditions in jail. She talked about how she does not have access to writing supplies. The deputies are nosy. They wouldn't let her hold the remote control for the TV. They did not want to give her an exercise mat, which impeded her ability to do crunches. And the food in jail consisted of white bread, hot dogs, and cold meatballs. On May 8, Jamie had a call with her boyfriend. She claimed that the head person of Charleston County had visited her. Jamie said, quote, "She's really nice and I think she's going to help me. Things are looking up," unquote. Apparently, she was referring to the sheriff who had granted her the unusual privilege of visiting her parents in person. On May 11, Jamie's father once again warned her against talking about her case, saying that the media was interested in her. Jamie indicated that she was scared that the media was involved and believed it was not going to help her. She said, quote, "It's going to be so bad when I get out. Everyone's going to be so mean to me," unquote. Her father discussed potential arrangements if Jamie was released on bail. He mentioned how she could be released into an alcohol rehabilitation program. Jamie rolled her eyes when he told her it would be 4 to 6 weeks, but said, quote, "If it helps the case, I'll do it," unquote. How generous of her. She's willing to sacrifice her valuable time to participate in substance use counseling. Her father may have picked up on this attitude because he responded, quote, "It might help you a little too," and added that she needed, quote, "to accept the reality of some of this stuff, baby, okay," unquote. Jamie said, "I don't want to go away for so long." When her father assured her that her family was doing everything they could, Jamie cried and said, "That's not enough." This makes it seem like Jamie was accustomed to having people support her and perhaps get her out of trouble, and now she's upset because her family and friends cannot save her. When stepping back and looking at all the recorded messages together, there are several themes that emerge. Jamie does not appear to have any concern for the victim. She has no empathy. It's all about Jamie. She is eager to escape the consequences of her behavior. From her point of view, this is a terrible accident that happened to her, and she is struggling to come to terms with her bad fortune. Jamie's impulsivity appears to be too high for her to stop talking. This isn't surprising. Impulsivity is also connected to alcohol use and to bad driving. Jamie is not a big fan of jail. Well, if she is convicted, she won't have to worry about jail anymore. She will be sent to prison. This is typically a little bit better of an environment than jail. For example, in prison, they serve the meatballs warm. Moving to the next question, what does justice look like in this case? It's too early to know for certain, but I think that Jamie should receive a sentence that reflects the damage that she caused. Probably something like 10 years for the homicide and 4 years for each of the felony DUI charges. So 22 years altogether. In reality, I'd be surprised if she receives more than 10 years. I think the longer sentence is justified for a few reasons. For example, the speed at which Jamie was driving, 40 miles per hour over the speed limit, her level of intoxication, over 3 times the limit, her complete lack of empathy for the victim, and the recklessness of driving from one bar to the next and drinking. What was her plan here? Any reasonable person would have known that a collision was the only way the night was going to end. Now moving to my final thoughts. The jailhouse recordings in this case contradict the myth that a person who kills another while driving intoxicated just made a little mistake, like the idea that the person is empathic, compassionate, pro-social, and responsible, and the alcohol is actually the guilty party. It transforms the person into something completely different. Here we see that Jamie has the same sense of entitlement, lack of insight, lack of empathy, and self-centeredness, whether she's intoxicated or not. As I've said before in other videos, it's time that DUI driving fatalities are taken seriously in the United States. Before Samantha Miller was killed, she told her husband she wanted the night to never end. Samantha had her whole life in front of her and every reason to be optimistic. She could not have predicted that an arrogant and callous offender would strike her down in cold blood. Those are my thoughts in the case of Jamie Komoroski. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.